First of all, I must thank Vivek. He did a fantastic presentation, and honestly, I didn't know Seagate as much as I came to know about Seagate today in the last 7 to 8 minutes, right? War India, Kolkata. This one. नहीं वो नहीं है. नीचे वाला. So while I start my presentation, I've got hardly 8 slides. I'm not getting into products, but I thought of talking about some cues which I took from the earlier presenters. I must talk about Mr. Pradhan's presentation, which I really looked at the perspective that Exide has built over the last probably half a decade in terms of taking the advancement in technology and building, because we all know battery as a very, very simple product, right? Now, how they have done the entire automation, and probably in my slides I'll try and correlate certain areas, because today we are talking about how we are transforming our businesses and how important it is to build automation in our processes. And one more interesting thing which I took note was when Mr. Mukhopadhyay was talking about IPv6, right? We have got a joke in within our industry that it's not very far when we will have IPv6 addresses to be used as our kids' addressing system also. We might decide to have IPv6 addresses as our kids' names also, because we are talking about everything we are trying to build smartness in. So I'll get into my presentation. Extreme Networks is a 1996 established company. We are listed in New York Stock Exchange. We are a $1.2 billion company as of last year. And we've got huge establishments and investments done in the country way back in 2003-04. So, like a lot of you are coming from the customer side. So if you look at it today, Extreme has been there in the Gartner's Leaders Quadrant. Now, Gartner talks about different segments. So Extreme features in the wired wireless segment of Gartner's Leaders Quadrant. We were earlier in the Challengers Quadrant. Last year we got into the Leaders Quadrant, and Gartner rates Extreme very highly when it moved Extreme into the Leaders Quadrant. Today we've done a couple of very interesting acquisitions in the last 3 years, and Gartner rates Extreme very highly on a couple of aspects. One being how well we have been able to integrate these technologies that we have acquired. We acquired erstwhile Motorola's wireless LAN business 2 years back. We acquired Avaya's campus fabric business, which we have fully integrated into our solution. And how important it becomes when we talk about the software which we drive, because we all know that today it's not about hardwares, it's more about how you are able to build your software and you are able to integrate a complete solution. How many of you will, in this forum, will agree that today network is becoming a very important component? Your network backbone becomes very important. I can talk about 10 applications which work on a IP network. It is a CCTV surveillance, your data network, your voice, your video, access control, boom barriers. Everything today collapses on an IP backbone. So your network infrastructure becomes extremely important. So again, Gartner rates Extreme very highly. In fact, we are amongst the number one. So Extreme is rated by Gartner number one in terms of ease of deployment. Now, when we talk about ease of deployment, many of you sitting here have operated your networks. You know, at times network can become a very tricky subject matter, right? So ease of operations and post-sales deployment, post-sales support, Extreme is again rated by Gartner as number one. I will get into a little specifics about Extreme in India. We are talking about, we established our first R&D lab in Chennai in the year 2003-04. So we've got almost 500 employees working out of that lab setup. We've got, in the past 2 years, we have built 3 more labs in Bangalore itself. So we are today close to 1,500 employees in our labs based out of India, all reporting into US eventually. But a lot of technology development is happening out of India on different technology segments, be it wired solution, wireless solution, NAC solutions, which all become important and integral components of your network deployments in any establishment today. We have multiple layers of services for customers who can talk. When we talk about enterprise customers, they talk about different kind of SLAs. We've got premier support, professional support. Now these all like parameters we talk, or these all models are built to ensure that we are able to build a solid network for you. So we take a very strong consultative approach in that domain. And we are backed up with a very solid support model. We've got multiple RMA depots, so we can get onto a next business day or a 4 hours kind of a resolution time. Extreme again believes, unlike a lot of our competitors, we believe in a completely in-house TAC support mechanism. So all TAC employees belong to Extreme. Now this Extreme has very strongly believed in this philosophy because the knowledge base is owned by Extreme. And we are again rated very highly by third party parties on our TAC support. A flashback of past 2 years of Extreme, I would say 3 years, we've grown phenomenally well in this industry, in the network industry. We all know that we are competing the giants like Cisco's and Junipers in the market, but Extreme is doing fairly well globally and within the country. So we've seen these kind of growths, very realistic numbers we are talking about. We've taken a very strong consultative approach in the market. So we do not believe that we have to sell our products only. Today, when it comes to network infrastructure, we all realize that it's a very complex subject matter. As I was mentioning, we take a very strong consultative approach. We've got a team of people based out of Kolkata. Again, they are not those typical sales guys because they all come from a very strong consulting and technical background. And we've always built a business through relationships and strong relationships. For the partner community, we know how important the network becomes as a part of a whole project. And building a model which is to build to last, right? So today, from a customer perspective, you can be guaranteed that you are investing in Extreme and you want a 7 years, 10 years kind of a support. Extreme gives you solid support in country. We build huge infrastructure in the country. A little on the IoT, a lot of speakers talked about Internet of Things. Now this is a very hot topic in the last 3 years. Now this slide I picked up from a report from Symantec which talks about 50% of your 50% of the increase on the endpoints. So, you know, a couple of years back we've been talking about securing the core. Today your edge is going to be the most susceptible point because all your IoT devices are getting connected on a wireless platform or major chunk, meaning the report talks about 75% of the IoT devices are on your wireless network. So today the entire security threats or the susceptibility starts at the endpoint, which is where you need to look at how do you secure your endpoints? How do you build a network which builds a solid and robust secured environment to add IoT, which is going to be a necessity, be it an automation industry, be it a manufacturing setup, any industry. Bangalore International is our customer, and they talk about huge amount of IoT applications which are already prevalent in their network. Another interesting insight which I thought of sharing is today, if you look at, and this is not what we are talking about, this is what Gartners of the world, what IDCs of the world are talking about. Today, most customers sitting here will agree that you build technologies in your establishments based on the need. Now, it's not your fault, but what you have done is you have built a storage technology, you build multiple technologies, and you have different operating systems to manage those, right? You have different windows to manage the NMS. Every vendor talks about NMS, right? Moving forward, and this is an industry trend that the usage of CLI will reduce, and by the year 2022, which is not very far away, almost 75% of the industry will move out of using the CLI, right? Which is very proprietary to most of the vendors. A quick run on Extreme's portfolio. Extreme Network builds solutions in the entire domain of wired, wireless and NAC solution. I'm not getting into the products, but we've got it all. Starting from an edge switch, an intelligent edge device, to a artificial intelligence built wireless access point, to a controller based wireless solution. In fact, we are industry's first who has brought in artificial intelligence into our wireless solution, to a completely automated campus network infrastructure which can be managed through a very, very interesting and intelligent software suite that we have built, and this is industry's first. I tend to believe, and I know that none of our competitors today have this kind of a software suite with which you can manage your entire IP infrastructure through a single pane of glass. Now, that might sound very simple, but it is not that. You know, today you're managing your wireless network through a different NMS, you're managing your wired network through a different network, through a different NMS platform. We are talking about a single pane of glass through which you can manage your wired, wireless, NAC solution including of any third-party equipment. So what we've done is we are opening up our APIs. Look at it how easy it becomes for you to manage your complex network today when you have this kind of an environment, this kind of a software suite which fits on top of your network. This is Extreme Management Center. Now, what this means is these are different modules. Today, most of you understand that there is a network access control which becomes important and very relevant subject matter in most of your organizations. We talk about smart cities, we talk about city surveillance projects, where you will see these all become very, very relevant. What is equally important is networks have become complex. So, how simple is it to manage that complex network? How secure is your network? I was just referring to IoT, which is becoming a necessary evil. In every application or every organization, IoT is required. Our IoT is becoming a norm. How do you build a network which is secured so that tomorrow you can have multiple IoT applications and you are sure that there is no threat from outside or inside? Some of our critical deployments in India, I just thought I'll quickly share with you. We've got cut across multiple vertical markets. We've got our customers, some references since we have Exide and we've got a lot of customers. So we've got CEAT Tyres using our wireless solution on their shop floor. Now, it's a very interesting case study, which I could probably share at any other point in time. But we've got a plethora of customers. Tata Motors using across all their manufacturing facilities across India, Extreme Networks for the last 13 years. So we've got customers in the education space. While we speak, we've got almost 17 NITs who are using end-to-end Extreme solutions in their networks, right? IIT Mumbai being one of them, they've been using, I think there is almost a deployment of 1,600 of our switches. When I say switches, it's all core, chassis-based, the entire solution is Extremes. In the space of education, government, PSU, we've got a plethora of customers. I've just put some names who have invested in a wholesome Extreme solution. In East, we've got a solid operation. I have my two colleagues sitting here. We have a lot of customers in Eastern market who've been using Extreme in the education domain, in the manufacturing space. We are also doing extremely well. I have 10 more minutes, is it? Thank you. So Extreme has done, I would say, pretty well in another very important space, which is the smart city and the evolving smart city market. And that's purely because we have one of the best solutions where we integrate very seamlessly with the other complementing OEMs who become a very integral part of that entire solution. This is the last slide. I have made this slide after a lot of inputs in the last probably 2 years from a lot of CIOs, CEOs whom we meet on a daily basis. Today, if you look at it, the network is a pretty complex subject matter. It is actually complex when you look at your own enterprises, right? Now, this is what we believe, and this is the inputs which I've got from multiple CIOs, CEOs over a period of time, Volkswagen CIO and all, who use Extreme. Any network has to be looking like this. This is going to be the future of the network. There are 3 to 4 important components. One is the simplicity, second is the scalability, third is the security, which has to be there in your network, right? You can't be building in isolation security because your changes are so fast. Your IoT was not even a subject matter 2 years back. So these are 4 important parameters which most of them felt is required to be built in your IP infrastructure. Also, how do you manage it through a single pane of glass? Now that becomes very important because you can't be having multiple skilled people in your organization to manage your network, somebody managing the wireless network, somebody managing the wired network. For the NAC, there is a different window. So it's a single pane of glass through which you manage, or a single dashboard through which you can manage, you can push policies, you can configure. To the extent the artificial intelligence that we have built into our wireless solution at the edge, what happens is when you build your IP infrastructure and when you invest in the wireless network becomes a logical part of the network without any actual parameters to be configured. It's only physically deploying the wireless access points. That's the kind of artificial intelligence that we have been able to build into our enterprise-grade networking solution. So that's it from my end. Thank you very much. I would love to interface with you during the cocktail dinner session. Thank you.